I'm back. Still in my temporary residence of another place with my grandmother. Still same water though. I wasn't about to do a stream tonight because I was supposed to go to the gym. I wanted to do a second run just to get my legs kind of stretchy. Bec- no diddy, but because we had leg day yesterday. So you know how it is leg day. The day after, you have a lot of muscle soreness. The day after leg day. Plus, I didn't think we were doing leg day yesterday, so I had just did a 12-kilometer run that morning. Then did like an hour, well, about a half an hour shadow boxing. Usually do about an hour, but did all of that. Still stretched, but it didn't help because with leg day, it just it's all tight right now, guys. No diddy again. um, Stretched a lot today. Might have to stretch a third time if I don't, since I'm not running. But was supposed to be doing a little cardio thing at the gym today, but my friend got too tired to go. So here we are, back again. Same bat time, same bat channel. What's up, America? And when I say America, I'm meaning both America in general and America, the person I see on my screen. So, uh, relevant to that screening is the topic of today. I'm wondering how many of you are going to tune in tomorrow for the first presidential debate between Biden and Trump. I think most of us are going to watch it just for the sheer entertainment, not for the politics, but just for the sheer entertainment of seeing two very elderly men who are known for saying anything out of their mouths go against each other. A lot of us want to see what happens. So I'm wondering if most of you are going to tune into that. Nothing says, are you going to vote for the libertarian candidate? I don't even know who the libertarian candidate is, so no, not at all. I've been pretty clear for like probably the last 5 months or so about whom I'm voting. I mean, for whom I'm voting. So uh, I don't even know who the libertarian candidate is, but I think third party candidates is a waste of time, unless and unless and only unless a third party candidate has a genuine chance of getting enough of the votes so they can get matching campaign funds. The only third party candidate who has a real shot at getting matching campaign funds is RFK Jr. None of the other ones do. The Green Party candidate doesn't. The Reform Party candidate doesn't. The Conservative Party doesn't. And yes, there's a Conservative Party, not the Republicans. There's one called the American Conservative Party. Uh, the independent people like Cornel West and the lady who's running. I think she's still running as a Democrat, but she's getting no backing from them. I forgot her name. She's sort of like flaky. She's running. But yeah, the only third party candidate in recent political history that really had a viable chance of winning the presidency was Ross Perot. Most people don't probably remember Ross Perot. Besides that, most third party candidates don't have a shot in hell. So it's kind of a waste of time voting for someone who doesn't have a shot in hell of winning. Like I said, if they have a shot in at least getting enough vote for matching campaign funds, then that would be worth it because that that could drive them on to actually be a dark horse candidate. RFK Jr. has the possibility of being a dark horse candidate. Uh, Dilfit says, "What's up, brother? What's up, Dilfit?" America says, "Me, Trump, all the way." Yeah, same. Dilfit says you should live stream it so we can hear your commentary. I was I was actually thinking about that, but I thought some, I didn't think a lot of people would actually be engrossed enough to both pick up the live stream and be watching it at the same time. Plus, if I did it that way, it would be hard to comment and watch it at the same time, and I might get, and then the third problem is I might get a copyright strike if I do that. If I tried to live stream during the, I am thinking about it, but like I said, the biggest thing I'm worried about is either that I'll miss most of the stuff myself trying to respond to comments and look at the what's going on the screen. Plus, I'm worried that I'm going to get copyright strike if I try to play it live because I'll have to hear it. I'll have to turn up loud enough that I can hear it, and which means that people on in the live stream will be able to hear it, and that I might get copyright strike because that's going to be like CNN content. But I'm going to ask someone about that tomorrow. If I can do that, I will live stream during the debates. Nothing says you're voting for Big Trump. Yes. I'm nowhere affiliated. It says let's go Trump. Joe Taro Cantoro says Kanye West. Is he running again this year? I haven't heard anything about it. If so, the first thing he should do is kind of like show that his wife isn't in immediate danger because I'm not gonna go there right now. I'll probably go there later, but I'm not gonna go there right now. MH says, what time does it start? Um, I gotta look again. I think it's gonna be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check your local listings because I think it's gonna be on CNN. But I know peop, other channels are gonna broadcast it from CNN. So News Nation, News Nation, I know they're gonna broadcast it live, simulcasting it from CNN. News Nation is sort of a CNN like channel. They consider themselves center, but everyone considers themselves center. But News Nation is owned by Nexstar, so the people who do that. So if you ever watch The Hill on YouTube or in their morning program Rising the Hill, that's all by Nexstar Media. So they own News Nation. So they're sort of like a CNN, but less iffy than CNN. Nothing says you should make a video after it than like a breakdown with your thoughts. So that might be more reasonable, just making a video about it instead of trying to live stream it. So yeah, either way, I am going to comment on the presidential debate. It's just I was thinking about it earlier this evening of whether I would live stream it or like you said maybe do a video afterwards or just do a live stream the day after. So it depends. But either way, either tomorrow or Friday, I am going to comment about it because like I said, I think it's gonna be. I'm not even looking at it for the politics. I'm looking at it for the sheer entertainment. CNN and Fox News have both had already had their own interpretations of how Biden is going to perform. So just yesterday when I was in the gym and like they have the videos, they have the TVs next to each other, all with the different news like CNN, yeah, MSNBC, Fox News, CNBC, stuff like that. And Fox News was saying that Biden was over preparing for the debate, like he had been practicing with 12 or 13 people and he's over prepared. And I was like, what? I was like, with all due respect, you can't over prepare for a debate. Plus, we know this man has gaffes and we know that he doesn't do well in debates. So I was like, for him, um, much less anyone else, over preparation is not an issue. Whereas CNN was saying, "Oh, he's getting prepared. He's getting prepared for the debate. He's getting prepared for the battle." And I'm like, and I was laughing at my friend. I was laughing with my friend in the gym. I was like, look at the two slants. I said, look how you take the same information and you give two different slants to it. And this is something well known in philosophy. We call it the the value latentness of data, which is basically like in science, there's no such thing as uh, objective data or facts because we know that everything is value latent. Even like data, like the data itself isn't value latent, but how we interpret the data is always value latent. So that was just a perfect example of that. Like taking a sheer fact that Biden is prepared for the debate, and one person saying and one in one place saying, "Hey, this guy's getting prepared, is well prepared for the debate." The other one saying he's over preparing. So I don't know. Jennifer said, "I think if you did it, you don't really need to worry about the comments. I think it'll be more interesting to hear your insight more than anything." I mean, but to be quite honest, I'm not a political person, so I'm not sure if anything I would have to say about the debates would be particularly clever or insightful beyond people who are actually have a background in that. Because I stay within my lane. Political science is not my domain. I have taken a political science class and I've gotten an A, but that's besides the point. I don't have any poli sci chops. But I mean, I can take a crack at it if people actually care about my opinions on certain things. I'm pretty certain that half of the debate I'm just going to be laughing, and so will you guys. I'm thinking we're all going to just be laughing at stuff that happens between Biden and Trump. Seeing these two men, one to just I think turned what 79. Trump just I think he just turned 79 uh, this month, and Biden who's 81 and I think is turning 82 by November. So it's going to be interesting. I think half of the commentary would just be hearing me laughing at what's going on, to be honest. But we'll see. Dolphus says also the majority of the comments would be F Trump or F Biden. That's true. Or or the converse is going to be go Biden and go Trump. I think it's going to be either F this person, go that person, or F this person, go and go that person. I think that's going to be pretty much how it goes. Just going to be cheering and booing. MHS is after 8 Eastern Standard Time though. Are we talking Eastern Standard Time though? Cause yeah, I think sometimes if it's at 9 or 10. Now, if it's at like 10 or something like that, I am not staying up to like midnight to comment on these guys. If it's like reasonable, like 9 p.m. or so, okay. John Maris says, "Want to hear a joke?" Not particularly, no. BSK is here. I'm no way affiliated. Says, "I hope Trump lets Biden talk and bury himself in his incontinence. I mean incompetence." Hey, Judah T. Sorry, I got your name wrong the last time you appeared too. I'm sorry, Judah. But he said, "I'm voting for the convicted felon. Let's go, Trump." Yeah. And Biden has a son who just got convicted of a felony too. So, yeah, well, BS cases anyone Biden useful Biden useful accomplishments, just one. I can give you one. He got us out of Afghanistan. We should have been done that. Trump did want to do it. Um, but I guess some of the neocons within his administration probably stopped him from doing so. But Trump did want to pull us out of Afghanistan too. But Biden did do it, so I give him that. I'll give him that he got us out of Afghanistan, and then it wasn't the conservatives that were mad at him. It was the Democrats. They was like, "How could you do that? Now all these people are gonna suffer because we pulled out." And I was like, "Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up." Yeah. I was like, it was the Democrats and liberals who didn't want us there for so long in the first place. Now you're mad that he actually took us out of there, saying he should have done it in a better way. There was no better way to do it. Any way that we did it, the Taliban was going to take over. It was just inevitable. It's either we stayed there indefinitely and basically made it a de facto American colony, or we pulled out and Taliban was going to attack and retake the country. They had a chance to defend their own country when they knew that America was pulling out. Their president went into exile. He didn't stand with his country. As much as I don't like the whole Ukrainian thing, at least that president, used the Ukrainian president, he actually stood there with his country and fought. The Afghani president, then he fled right to Europe as soon as he heard that the U.S. was pulling out. So I'll give him that accomplishment. Uh, Lucy and Jay says Dr. Shiva for president. I don't even know who Dr. Shiva is. Judah says, I feel like people like Trump because they now understand the same people that are attacking us are attacking them. He's the people's person. Well, he's a populist president. Remember when he became popular, so did Bernie Sanders. That was who I was backing originally in 2016, and even in 2020. But in 2016, the Clintons literally ran him out, and to ensure that they still got some of his backers, they gave him some concessions of basically putting some of his policy platform, some of the policies from his platform into Hillary's platform. But they ran him out in 2016. But in 2016, it was basically supposed to be the battle of the two populists. Bernie Sanders was the populist on the left, and Trump was the populist on the right. Neither of them were wanted by their party. The Democrats didn't want Bernie, and remember, the Republicans originally didn't want Trump either. They were trashing him. They wanted Bush's brother, Jeb Bush, to be their front runner. And they laughed at Trump because they thought there's no way people were going to vote for him. And they just didn't realize how much people wanted a populist president at that point in 2016. So he is a populist president, but we'll see. Judah said I would try to tune in if he did it. All right, yeah, like I said, I am considering it. I'm just gonna ask some people if it would be safe for me to live stream a debate, or if I'll get a copyright strike. So, because I have 2 copyright claims already. They're not copyright strikes, but they're just copyright claims because of the lo-fi music I was playing, which I was surprised because it's AI generated music. So I didn't think the AI generated music would be copyrighted, but I guess because there is a quote unquote artist behind it, you still have to be careful. So Natalie says hi. Dilfer says I'll vote for whoever will lower inflation and reduce the national debt. Panherk 709 says the National Army and the U.S. soldiers stationed there had no idea what was going on. They were paralyzed with lack of leadership and had no plan. Yes, they knew what was going on. Now, could have been, all right, so could it have been done better? Yes, but it was always going to be crazy because you're always going to have a bunch of Afghanis desperate to get the hell out of there, and they had planning ahead, because like I said, if they didn't have planning ahead, the Afghani president wouldn't have known to pull out of there 2 weeks before it happened. Well, I forgot. I don't know if it was 2 weeks or 1 week, whatever. He had plenty of time to know what they were doing, and so did our military leaders from the top up. So they knew. I mean, could have been executed better, yes. But I'm not gonna like I was all for them leaving Afghanistan. We wanted them to leave for a long time, which like I said, it was so weird that it was people on the left crucifying Biden for doing it. It wasn't people on the right. Well, there was, well, yeah, let's be honest. There were people on the right crucifying him for it too, but that was just because he was the Democratic president. But both sides have said they wanted to get us out of Afghanistan. Trump wanted to do it, but I think either some of his military leaders or some of his neoconservative folks within his administration talked him down from that. But I mean, basically, Biden just continue what Trump was about to do anyway, which was pull us out. It There's always going to be an element of like randomness to that sort of thing because you can't plan something like that. You just can't plan every foreseeable consequence of that. Like I said, like I said, I don't feel that bad because they literally had 20 years to prepare for this. We've been there since 2001. They had 20 years to get their government together, get their military together, and be able to stand on their own feet. If they can't stand on their own feet within 20 years of us being there, they were never going to stand on their own feet. If they couldn't do it in 20 years, like I said, literally from the time I was in college and graduate school and army and all this other stuff till now, like 20 years, like that's three levels of that's three generations of military that've been there. You could have had the father, the son, and the grandfather all served in Afghanistan within that 20-year frame. That's crazy. And Afghanistan couldn't get themselves together within that 20-year time frame that they could hold their own government together. It was never gonna it was just never gonna happen. No matter how long we gave it before we pulled out, they they were never gonna get their shit together. So that's all I can say about that. I'm nowhere affiliated. Said Jeb was like, please clap. uh, then that was another reason people, and then that was another reason people didn't want Bush and Clinton in 2016. They didn't want Jeb Bush versus Hillary Clinton because they was like, man, we don't want political dynasties in this country like they have in some of these little other countries, like the Philippines. Political dynasties. The current president of the Philippines is Ferdinand Marcos or Bongbong Marcos Jr., who's the son of the former military dictator from the 70s. Duterte, his his daughter, the former president Rodrigo Duterte, originally his daughter Sarah Duterte was running, and then she ended up becoming the VP for Ferdinand Marcos. But she was going to run, and before then, both of them were mayors of Davao City in Mindanao, the Philippines. And his son now, I think, is currently the mayor down there. Ferdinand Marcos, after he fled the country, his wife went back and became a senator. His son went back, and I think the other kid as well. They've all just running political dynasties, and that's a lot. And they're not the only ones in the Philippines, and it's like that in other countries. We didn't want one political dynasty versus another political dynasty with the Clinton 2.0 and Bush 2.0 this time with Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton. This is why people were pushing so fervently for like populist candidates to get us away from that. But if it didn't work, well, actually it did sort of work. We got Trump. They put and for that I say that's what the Democrats get. They fucked over Bernie just to make sure Clinton won to become the front runner, and then she lost to Trump. Good. And she's gonna have sour grapes for the rest of her lives, claiming that Bernie cost her the election, that Bernie's supporters cost her the election, and that Trump stole the election. So, whatever. Nothing else says, do you listen to drill rap or what genre of music do you like? I definitely don't listen to drill rap. It's just that sounds like music for like idiots. I'm sorry. It's not lyrical. It, it's they're not lyrically versed. I mean, they're not lyrically talented. The music isn't very well made. The guys all look like a bunch of morons who are just using the music to brag about their actual crimes. It's stupid. But eh, I'd rather just stick to the topic of the oncoming debate. Bartek Lelanuski says, "Do you feel love?" So here's the rule, guys, that's been ongoing for the last several weeks. If you want to ask a question on something that does not relate to the given topic du jour of the day, that is, drop a cash app. GJC says, "Good evening. What's up, GJC?" Tyler Chroma says, "Yeah, I didn't know it was tomorrow." I'm surprised. You must have not had the TV on in 2 days because that's all they can talk about. And it's like I wasn't even seeing this on TV. I saw it at the gym. like I didn't know about the debates till I saw it on TV at the gym. I didn't even see it watching TV at home because I wasn't watching that much TV. But yeah, so debate is tomorrow evening. BSK says leaving extremely valuable equipment behind, including turbine aircraft. That happens. I mean, you guys remember what happened in Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon, whichever you prefer calling it. I mean, that was a travesty. But again, there's military. There's I've never seen a perfect military pullout. If someone can bring up one from history, I'd be more than welcome to to admit defeat on that. But I've never heard of a perfect military pullout. Which and that's what she said. But but yeah. Like I said, they Afghanistan had 20 years to get their shit together from 2001 to 2021. They've had several presidents. They had a full working government, their own independent military trained by us, and they still couldn't get their shit together. Like the Taliban even told them and us several days in advance that they will be coming to retake the government when we leave. So everyone had forewarning that this was going to happen. So they could have planned accordingly. And some people say, well, then we should have not left as quickly as. I'm pretty sure there are other reasons outside of what we are privy to for why we left as quickly as we did. We only get a smidget of that information because none of us have access to that sort of intel. It's way above our pay grade, a lot of the factors that went into that. So we can just speculate on that they did things in a boneheaded way. And maybe it was in a boneheaded way, but I'm pretty sure there were some other factors that went into why it seemed like such a rush job. So especially when we knew like a week or two in advance that what was happening, so did everyone else. Man, Delphic. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, for the folks saying that we could have done a better job, I was like, yeah, I think any military pullout can be done better than how it actually ends up going, just because there's going to be so many unforeseen factors going into it. For instance, that's my grandfather's plaque. He served in infantry in the Korean War. Ask about how that went. Okay. Uh, Technically, North and South Korea are technically still at war with each other since the 50s. So, GJC's my comments don't seem to be going through. Well, guys, like I said, depending on how you phrase stuff, the algorithm is going to just not push it, will not let some things through. Because I'm not doing anything. One hand is literally holding the phone, the other hand is like, I have water, so it's not me. Crystal says black, but I don't get it. But oh, another thing to point out about the debate is that CNN refused to let RFK Jr. to be a part of the debate. I think that was messed up. I mean, both sides don't want him involved because because he's a potential dark horse candidate. And if you don't know what a dark horse candidate meaning, he can potentially spoil it for one or the other candidate. Even so much so that he could even like potentially win. I doubt it, but he most likely he will ruin it for one or the other one. Most likely for the Democrats because he tried to run originally as a Democrat, then he left and became an independent because the Democrats refused to acknowledge him as part of their as as one of the candidates for their party. So I think it's kind of messed up that they wouldn't allow him to be a part of the debate. I think he deserved to be a part of it. And not allowing him to be a part of it actually might work in his favor because he can say this is why you shouldn't be voting for these two people representing this political duopoly. He said if you want because he can probably campaign on that, say if you're tired of this corporate political parties, this duopoly that makes you choose between the lesser of two evils. He was like, maybe vote for me instead. So he can use that as a selling point that they're kind of keeping him away from the debates. David Sanchez, do you think they will drug test? No, no, I don't think so. Why would they? How you gonna drug test two of the political front runners for the American presidency? No, I don't think so. This is for the this is for the role of American president, not to work at CVS. And you notice that too? That's another insult. Why is it only bullshit jobs that drug test you? Why should they even care? I mean, you're selling, you're selling M&Ms and aspirin and diapers. Like, why do you need to be sober to do that? So, BSK says former ELD officer, very, very easy to disable or destroy anything. Detach the cord quickly as well. GJC says, how are they going to get Joe ready for this debate? He can barely move and he's going against the most argumentative person in history. That's why I said, like, oh, well, you didn't catch this in the beginning of the stream, but I was making fun of that in the beginning of the stream where I was saying how the two sides were reporting. And so I'm at the gym and they're talking about the debate that's coming Thursday, and CNN is saying, yeah, Joe Biden is well prepared for the debate. He's been doing a lot of practicing or whatever, and then Fox News was like, Biden has been prepping with like 12 or 13 different people. He's over prepared for the debate. And I was like, with all, as much as I don't like Joe, and I think he's going to underperform in this debate, you cannot be over prepared. Especially you got to deal with the randomness of Trump. You got to deal with the fact that he is very low energy, Sleepy Joe. Third, you have to deal with the fact that he doesn't perform well in debates at all, even in his more vibrant times. And just something that important you cannot over prepare for. But I don't know. Maybe they're gonna give him a few B12 shots. Give him some Monster energy drinks behind the podium. You know who they should have put behind the podium? The girl from Police Academy 1. That some of y'all might not get that, but that'll keep me awake. BSK says school bus driver test. Well, yeah, for school bus drivers, there definitely should be drug testing. And I'm saying like some of the most important jobs, people be high as fuck, and I know because I worked in the financial services sector. A lot of those people use drugs, and we're talking about bankers and loan officers. So, yeah. BSK says detached cord will slice reinforced concrete or steel, anything essentially. Uh, GJ says it's possible that Trump just takes too much and damages himself somehow. Takes too much. What Trump doesn't have a problem with being uh lethargic. Really, he has a little natural gruff to him. I mean, I guess he's because he's. I mean, he's like 3 years younger than Trump. I mean, 3 years younger than Biden, or 2 years younger. I mean, not a big difference when you're both like close to 100, but um, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, they might want to give Biden a B12 shot, give him a few Monster energy drinks, put the woman put the woman from the Police Academy Part 1 behind the podium for him. Kelly says Trump has been having many strokes. I haven't heard of it. And most of us aren't privy to his medical records anyway. We just have to go by what they release to us. So that sounds like that could be like more speculation. Is that a little tiny spider? Like a little tiny spider. Cool. Let me not put my water there. I don't want the little thing crawling into my water. I still don't know what you're talking about, BSK. You talk about blowing stuff up. Kelly says the debate will be at night. Trump has been sundowning lately. Past 9 p.m. he loses a lot of functionality. I think you're confusing him with Biden. Biden can function a full day. I haven't heard any of that about Trump, unless it's just MSNBC speculating. I don't trust stuff coming from certain places because it's just. I mean, when it comes to Biden, we know it's a fact because it's coming from both sides of the aisle saying the same thing. But when it's one thing is only coming from one side, it's more sketchy. So I haven't heard any of that sort of stuff about Trump. He's been out on the campaigning. No, you hear more about Biden because it's coming both from the left and the right. When it comes from both the political left and the political right, that is more objective. You hear only something coming from the political left about the rival. It's a little sketchy. No one I've not heard anyone else reporting that Trump has had many strokes, and you wouldn't anyway because medical information like that is not privy to the public. I mean, that's one of the most fundamental things is doctor-patient confidentiality. We're not going to hear about him having many strokes. That's speculation at best. GJ says Trump goes to UFC events all night. He can go late. Yeah. Oh, that's right. He did show up at what was the latest one he showed up? It was I forgot which one it was, but yeah. We already know, but like I said, when stuff is coming from both sides, it's more objective. Like he said, Kelly says Wall Street Journal, the left now. I don't know. Again, I don't read one source of news because I don't find getting my news from only one source to be very useful. I like to get it from a different plethora of sources so that I can so I can get converging evidence coming from different sources. When I see converging evidence coming from different sources, is more believable. But I've not heard the stuff about Trump suffering many strokes. Besides that, again, doctor-patient confidentiality. You're not going to hear about that sort of stuff because it's not going to be released to the public. He's not currently a, he's not currently serving in public office, so that sort of information will not be privy to the public. Newsweek and Salon are all quite fervently on the left. Salon is on the left, Newsweek is on the left, CNN is on the left. All those are on the left. So again, you're all talking about political biased information coming from the left, who have a who have uh, vested interest in not seeing him not succeed. And again, I don't believe it because he's not serving in public office. So his medical issues aren't going to be privy to the public. That's just common sense. People's medical information as private citizens aren't privy to the public unless it's a matter of like public health, like when talking about like AIDS or something like that. We're not talking about something like AIDS or COVID. So your medical information is not going to be privy to the public as a private citizen. He's now a private citizen. He's not a public servant until he goes back into office. So we wouldn't have information on him having so-called mini strokes. CNN is not moderately CNN is not moderately conservative. All right, everyone. All right, let's take this to a vote. Everyone in the chat right now, tell me, do you think CNN is conservative? When has CNN been conservative? I'll wait. DJ says when discussing facts, quote unquote, you cannot quote CNN or Fox News. Absolutely. They both have their political biases. That's why I said you need converging sources, converging evidence coming from different places. Boston University is not a journalism source. Again, you're just putting stuff out there saying these are what these people are saying, and I'm supposed to take it. I'm again, you've been in you've been in these streams. You know that I'm a skeptical person. I'm not gonna believe something just because someone points it out before I can actually look it up myself. That's just by nature how I am. Like I'm just not gonna accept something without evidence before I see the evidence myself. Not to say that you're wrong, but it just seems dubious because, like I said, as a private citizen, something like that is going to be a part of doctor-patient confidentiality unless you are a public servant or those sorts of health problems are a matter of public health concern, something like I said, COVID or AIDS, stuff like that, those that can affect others. If it's something dealing with like your mental health and stuff like that, but it's not something that has been seen like on like media, like when Biden has these moments of memory lapse and stuff like that, or just gets catatonic because he can't respond to something. We see that on the news, regardless of where it's coming from, CNN, Fox, News Nation, PBS NewsHour. So those are moments we can see when Trump has had verbal gaffes. We've seen it from both sides. So we've seen Trump, have verbal gaffes and, have little Bush moments. Everyone used to make fun of Bush for his little moments in the spotlight when he forgot something or stuttered or, all sort of verbal tics and stuff like that. Everyone can see those things, but no one has seen any effects of Trump having many strokes. That's what I'm saying. So if that's out there, that's cool. We'll find out sooner or later. But like I said, for his age, he could be healthier, of course, but Man still golfing. Pew Research, the CNN. No, they. That's. I'm sorry. CNN is not conservative. No one believes CNN is conservative. Sorry, just had a little connectivity issue. But yeah, no one on the right thinks CNN is conservative. No one. No one at all. CNN is center left at best. Center left. No one believes CNN is liberal. I mean, sorry. No one believes CNN is conservative. It's just, no. No one thinks that. J.A.C is 10 plus Diet Cokes a day. He's bound to stroke out eventually. I don't think so. Look at freaking what's the billionaire's name? That owns Berkshire Hathaway. He eats a dude eats like McDonald's every day. He eats like a Big Mac every day. Warren Buffett. That man eats McDonald's every day. Just what we don't see though is the fact that these billionaires have the expensive, the most expensive health care that anyone can afford, that most of us can afford. So they can afford to eat eat unhealthily and still compensate for it because they have doctors we will never have access to. Besides, and he's also a former president. He's definitely going to have access to the type of medical care we could never have access to. Yeah, Warren Buffett dealt it. But guys, show of hands, how many of you currently, not Kelly, we already know where you stand. Everyone in the chat, tell me who do any of you think CNN is conservative? Any of you? And again, this is from a guy who used to be a progressive. So I know they weren't conservative. Like I said, literally only I'm pretty sure by the end of this vote, no one's going to think that CNN is conservative. I mean, you had the black gay television host that got fired just because he was saying something against a woman. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. Just because they're not as left as MSNBC doesn't mean they're not on the left. MSNBC is just farther left than MSNBC because MSNBC are basically just cheerleaders for the DNC. Oh yeah, so I think they started um, minimizing the breaking news. Because remember, when I used to watch CNN a lot, like 11 years ago, it used to be so annoying. Literally everything was breaking news, and we were like, "Come on, man, everything can't be breaking news." It'd be like breaking news. Obama just farted. Like what? What? Like this is not breaking news. Well, breaking news. We just got breaking news. Like what? Sometimes their breaking news is literally just breaking news. Like that shit was hilarious, and I'm not even joking. There was literally at least a few times where the breaking news was breaking news of something else that happened. Like it was like meta breaking news. Like so, I think they got a lot of pushback for that, so they started like um, minimizing how many times they use that gimmick. Because after a while, it just becomes Peter crying wolf. So. And like I said, I'm not trying to insult Kelly, but it's just no one. And like I said, I don't think anyone reasonably believes that CNN is a conservative news outlet because, like I said before, I consider myself a classical liberal, and like I said, unfortunately, classical liberals are considered on the right now. I don't know how, because in the 60s we were firmly on the left, but we've been pushed to the right. And I know from my more right-leaning people that they definitely think CNN is far left. For them, CNN is far left. MSNBC, I can't even imagine what they think that is, but they think CNN is far left. So I was like, it's not anyone in the center or on the right that thinks they're conservative. Now the news station, new word station, News Nation, you can say they're moderate or in the center, and it's yet, and we can argue whether they're center left or center right. But at least News Nation is more. I think News Nation is more to the center than CNN is. I think. Kelly says the news shouldn't be a for-profit business; should be a public service. But that's all. The problem is the news has always been a for-profit business, even going back to like Benjamin Franklin. Like, you know, this is why I said you should. I don't believe in getting my news from one source, because if you only get news from one source, you're going to be blinded to the biases that are in that source. They're all corporate owned, and they all going to have like certain biases and news management that will favor certain things in their favor. Like you're not so if the Washington Post is now owned by Lex Luthor from Amazon, whatever, Bezos or whatever, right? Of course, they're not going to put out information that makes Amazon look bad. You're going to have to get that from another news source, and vice versa. Like something owned by Elon Musk or something owned by whomever. That's why you gotta get news from all over. Like I get news from the left, right, and center. I'll watch Rising the Hill. I'll sometimes check out stuff on CNN, Fox News, CNBC. Um, Occasionally even the Young Turks, and most people will consider the Young Turks pretty far left. Um, then I'll watch stuff like on Daily Wire or Blaze TV. So I'm getting my news from all over. So I think it's much more well rounded that I can go to something like the Daily Wire on one end and then the Young Turks all the way on the other end. So, or Blaze, well, I think Blaze TV is even farther right than Daily Wire. I don't know. But in any case, I think I have most of my bases covered. uh, TJ says, I remember they were saying there were 100 plus deaths in a shooting that actually ended up being like 10. Replaying the same scene over and over as if it's live. Kelly Keegan says, no, it wasn't. The three major channels were granted the use of the government telecommunications and were mandated to air a certain amount of public service. The Daily Wire's propaganda. Again, you're just left biased because, like I said, the whole point of me getting news from different sources because you're never going to get all the information just coming from CNN. You're never going to get all of it just coming from Fox News. You're never going to get it just from MSNBC. I don't even I don't even rock with MSNBC. I don't even watch anything to do. I just hate them. I hate that little black lady who used to be a former Clinton shill. Now she's just a shill for the DNC in general. And it's like I don't like her because she tries to talk about she tries to use her blackness as part of her political identity, and she's not a real black person. She's her parents are from the Congo Republic or whatever. I'm sorry, to me she's just a tether. For some of you who aren't familiar with these dilemmas within the black community, I'm just going to put it like this. Black people who migrated here of their own free will within the last 100 or so years, we don't consider them black. They are te- uh, they are migrants from Latin America and Africa and the Caribbean. The people who were here before 1860, we are black Americans. We don't consider those other ones black. So you came from the Congo, you're not black. That's why I don't consider Obama black. But I don't want to change the subject. The point is, I don't like anyone on MSNBC, but I will watch occasionally CNN. I will occasionally watch Fox News. I will watch Daily Wire, Blaze TV, Young Turks, The Hill, News Nation. Um, who else? Um, PBS NewsHour. Um, what's that other one? This link is more right than Fox News. Me, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll check all those out. Tongue Tao, I don't know who you talking about, buddy. Ko says just dropping in. What we talking about? We are talking about who is going to be watching the upcoming presidential election. I mean, sorry, presidential debate tomorrow in the U.S. Uh, evening time here in the United States. So I'm taking from this conversation that a lot of people are going to be invested in watching this debate tomorrow. Because, like I say, everyone has their own views on everything, right? It's going to be done by CNN, and then a lot of other news stations are going to simulcast the broadcast from CNN onto their channels. Kelly says overall we rate the Daily Wire right bias based on story selection, editorial positions that align with the conservative right. Yeah, I didn't disagree with that. I was saying that's the very reason that I watch it. I want to see stuff that the right thinks about. Like I want to see stuff that the left thinks about because if I only get one or the other, I'm only going to have a limited source of information. There's things that the right talks about that the left doesn't talk about, and vice versa. So I want to get all of that because as a person who wants to do critical thinking on political matters, you can't think critically on political matters if you're only getting it from one side. That's the point of getting my news from everywhere, is that I can be more well-rounded and be able to make better, more rational uh, judgments and decisions on that information coming from a wide variety of sources. Kelly's CNN has had mixed factual reporting as well. Matter of fact, that's part of the problem with the whole breaking news that we were just talking about a moment ago. In the effort that they, not just CNN, but a lot of these major news stations do, they'll rush out and put out news alerts, breaking news, whatever they want to call it. And usually when they're out to rush to get the breaking news, it's not very factual. You have to wait until all the information comes in later to get a more accurate tale of what's going on. They're all meant to like entertain and stimulate more than to inform. So that's not anything sui generis to the Daily Wire. Like I said, Blaze TV is farther right than Daily Wire. Is Candace Owens loony now? I mean, some would say she was always loony. Some would say not. I don't know. I know that before she was fired from the Daily Wire, last year, I actually started watching her, and I was like, oh, she's not as crazy as people make her out to be. Like, I definitely didn't agree with everything that she said, but people making her out to be like this irrational person, I realized was just a hit job on her because she was more reasonable than she was unreasonable. Like, I didn't agree with all her positions on things. And I think she could be maybe a tad anti-Semitic. I'm not sure, but again, I found her somewhat reasonable on many issues. So I don't know. Ray Roblers says, "Hey Kelly, what do you rank CNN, MSNBC, and 99% of left leaning? And how's that not propaganda?" Ray, we were just literally having this conversation before you came in. He was telling us that CNN is moderately conservative, and I said, "There's not one person on the right who thinks CNN is conservative." And I said, "Everyone who's currently in the chat, please tell me by vote um, who thinks CNN is conservative." And so far, I've not heard one other person say that CNN is conservative because literally no one thinks that. No one on the right thinks they're conservative, nor does anyone in the center think they're conservative. At best, at best, you can say they're center left. At best, you can say they're center left, but they are. CNN is not conservative. Kelly says they pick news off the wire, Associated Press and Reuters, and put their spin on it. I try to get my news straight from the wire. Everyone puts their spin on it. That's what I'm saying. You're trying to say that one set of folks does something that they all do. Again, like I said, this is a very well known fact coming out of something we discovered in philosophy of science that applies across the board when we're talking about epistemic issues, or when I say epistemic issues, that means issues dealing with, you know, um, knowledge and rationality. Is that all data is all like the value latentness of data is everywhere. There's no one reporting on facts that doesn't put their own spin on it because everyone has to interpret data in some way because we have because it's an inference we're inferencing certain things and people are just going to inference those things differently. Everyone puts their own spin on it, either intentionally because of like corporate or government biases, or unintentionally just because that's how they make sense of the world. There's always going to be a value lateness of data. One side is not unique in that respects. Everyone does it, which is the whole point of finding different sources to get your information so you don't fall prey to just how one source, inferences their material. Yeah. I mean, if you want to say daily trash, I mean, sorry, Daily Wire's trash. I mean, that's fair. Again, I think the Young Turks is trash too. But again, I want to have my information from different sources because there's stuff that only the Young Turks is going to talk about. And then on the other hand, there's going to be stuff that only Blaze TV and Daily Wire talks about. And where I might find issues with both of those platforms, I know there's going to be certain stuff that only they show, but I would never see if I only watch one or the other. That's my point of view anyway. It's sort of like with me with martial arts. I don't want to just learn from this one style and then, you know, have nothing to answer this other style. Like, if you only take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what are you going to do with a person who's who has excellent striking skills and the finesse and footwork of a boxer like, Floyd Mayweather or Mike Tyson? One who can do the Philly shell, and the other one who can do the peekaboo style. I mean, or someone who does Muay Thai. You know, I want to be able to know all those sorts of things going into a fight. So, in a similar vein, when it comes to like having to make choices on like political and social issues, I want to get as my news from as much people debate based on their morals, and when they are stuck, they quote the Bible. I mean, okay, that might be. Actually, I don't know. Well, some of them do, but then you got other people like what's his name? He's Jewish, so he definitely won't be quoting the Bible. Like, maybe Old Testament, the Torah. But but anyway, Ray Roberts says everyone knows cable news is done. When will we have Joe Rogan or PBD, Dave Smith, Dr. Jordan Peterson host presidential debates? I don't know. I can tell you that if they did do Joe Rogan, that would probably be well. You would probably get a lot of people watching it if they had Joe Rogan hosting it. Uh, that would be a good one, really. Kelly says the Young Turks also have mixed reliability as well. Exactly, that's my point. Like I said, they come. You have one on the far left, you have one on the far right. Although, to hear them both tell it, they're not far left and they're not far right. But regardless of how far leaning they are on those, on their, you know, different sides, there's stuff I'm gonna get from both that I would get that I wouldn't get if I only looked at only one. I used to watch a lot of Young Turks back when I was like more strongly progressive, and then I just start seeing cracks in how they talked and thought about things, and Ken Long says there's only one race, the human race. Not talking about those sorts of races. We're talking about presidential races right now, unless you're being funny. Kelly says I haven't been a huge fan of theirs, especially since the corporate buyout. Corporate buyout of which place? Young Turks? Because I haven't heard that. Ray Roberts says Uger has TDS. You talking about the Daily Show? Kelly Rogan says Joe Rogan is a moron. He knows combat sports and that's it. No, no, he's a podcaster, and besides, and he's not a moron. First of all, you don't reach that level being a moron. He talks with people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and he talks with people like Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, people like Dr. Brian Keaton. These are brilliant physicists. And we can debate Neil deGrasse Tyson because he's just a science popularizer, but Dr. Brian Keaton is someone who actually does research, like physical research. So he can talk with those people in a and have rational conversations with them. He's not a moron. Besides that, he started off as a comedian. That was his shtick. He tries to make things funny and entertaining. That is his shtick as a professional comedian. He started off doing stand up comedy. He's not a moron though. Ray Roberts says 90% of fights go to the ground. Floyd and Tyson would lose that very fast. No, they wouldn't. That's false. So I, I'm a self defense coach, and I'm gonna tell you the real deal. This is tangential to the talk, but being to the self defense coach, I think I need to put some reality into this because, like I said, two things, guys, I will always be honest with you guys about, even if I get corporate sponsorships one day when I'm monetized. Two things I will never lie about, and that's anything things to deal with academics or things to deal with like martial arts. So here's the thing, and everyone has a different percentage. 90% of fights go to the ground, 80% go. Yes, the majority of fights go to the ground, but when we parse that data, what do we see? Most of those fights that go on the ground are stuff that we captured, by in like CCTV and security footage, and it's usually of law enforcers taking people down to the ground because it's easier to apprehend them that way. So most of the fights that we have data on go to the ground, but out of that, the majority of those going to the ground are with law enforcement because usually that's the easiest way that they can apprehend and arrest someone who's not trying to be taken in. However, when it comes to street fights not involving law enforcement, the majority of them are fights with them standing up. And out of that data, we find out that when one of those people is a skilled striker, it often ends in a knockout. That means to realistically protect yourself in most street fights, when you are not when you are not a law enforcement official, you should have striking skills. For the most part, the only for that if you're never going to deal with like um, MMA or or competing in submission grappling, then really the only like grappling you really have to deal with on the street is knowing how to clinch with people and know how to do what do you call it, the I forgot the name of it, but sorry. But again, you need striking skills if you're going to realistically do self-defense. Even for those skilled in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, they are they're going to still need striking skills. Like, teach them some rudimentary boxing skills, and they're good. And they're good, yeah, because they're going to still need some striking skills, a little bit, a modicum of striking skills. But there's no getting around that. For self defense, you're going to need striking skills. So this is why I said this is why we have to look at nuance. Kelly says success is not a measure of competency. You absolutely can be a popular media personality and a moron. I'm not arguing. So that's yes, that is true. You can be successful and a moron because the the biggest role in success is actually just random chance. Most people don't like to hear that, but I've said this 1,000 times. The biggest factor in a person's personal success is random chance, and the second biggest factor is coming from uh, having plenty of financial resources. Most people don't like to hear that, but that's true. So yeah, you can be a moron and be successful. However, I'm saying that Joe Rogan himself is not a moron. Like I said, he can have rational conversations with very highly uh, intellectual guests on his show. Like I said, he's had rational conversations with people like Steven Pinker, Neil deGrasse Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Keaton, and others. He's had very smart people on his show, and he did not sound like a moron talking to them. Just because you don't like him doesn't mean he's a moron. But you also, if I'm not incorrect, also thought that Thomas Sowell wasn't a very intellectual person, and he very much so is. So that's just sort of your political bias against those people. No offense. Being successful at interviewing people means you have to have skills to do so. I'm sorry, an idiot is not going to be good at interviewing people. Joe Rogan is not a dumb person. Like I said, his style is based on just being entertaining because he started his career as a stand-up comedian. And most people already know to be a successful stand-up comedian does require a bit of intelligence in itself. Like most people do rate um, the average IQs of stand-up comedians to be um, above average. So he said Kelly Keaton says, but he almost never pushes back against his guests because that's not his role. He's not there to push back against his guests. That's not his role. He's disagreed with people on his platform, but usually he doesn't. That's the reason why he can get such a wide variety of guests on his show is because he's not there to antagonize them. That's not his role. That's not his role on his podcast is to antagonize people. Some people have platforms where they intentionally do that, and because of that, you notice that they get very limited people on their platforms because most people don't want to deal with that. His podcast is pretty. I think it's pretty smart the way it's run. Like I said, most people wouldn't want to come to his platform if they felt like he was going to make them look bad. Like I said, he didn't push back against Terrence Howard talking all that crazy shit, but guess what he did? He cleverly brought on people who disagreed with Terrence Howard to show why he was wrong. He does that all the time. If he disagrees with something or other, or maybe not he disagrees with it, but if he knows someone is saying particularly controversial, he'll bring on guests that will disagree with the prior guests that he had on. That's kind of clever to me. If you can't see how ingenious that is, I mean, that's okay. Kelly said he would be an awful debate referee. Have you seen some of these debates in the past? The lack of refereeing, and no one says it has to be like a formal debate. It can be a more informal process, or it could be like it could be more like a town hall meeting sort of thing. There's different ways you can do the debates. Like I said, it can be more like a town hall meeting, excuse me, town hall meeting sort of thing. It's different ways you can do it. I would just say that if he did do one, a lot of people would tune into it because he already has a large platform. So it, I think it would be pretty. It would do pretty well. Kelly, you're just biased, my friend. You said Thomas O isn't respected in his own field. He very much is so respected as an economist, and he's very much well respected as a public intellectual. He's well respected in his community. He got his PhD at University of Chicago. He did his undergrad at Harvard. He's very well respected. He works. I think before he retired, he was at the Heritage Foundation after he stopped being a professor. He's written numerous books. The man is 93 and still published just 3 years ago when he was 90. David Sanchez says Joe Rogan's well rounded now. He would be great for a debate. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think, like I said, it don't have to be a formal debate, but I think it would be great if he did like a town hall meeting style sort of thing between the candidates. That would that would get so many viewers. It would get a lot. It would do really well. Or just have him host one on one of the big national news channels. Either way, I think it would do well. I think it would actually get more people interested to get younger, more tuned in sorts of people to referee and host these sorts of events instead of these little dry boomer and silent generation type people running these debates. If you got people that people actually know and care about, more people would tune in. Ray Roberts says Thomas Sowell's the man. Kelly Keaton says, would it be entertaining? Absolutely, but I think too highly about democracy to involve Rogan. Yeah, I think you do think too highly about democracy because I definitely don't think too highly of it. I think we live in an oligarchy, or at best a plutocracy. I don't think we live in a democracy, which is why I'm kind of against a pure democracy. I would prefer having a newocracy, which is a government of the knowing, sort of on the lines of what Plato wanted. So I don't know. I don't think very highly about democracy. Maybe that's the difference there. Then not only Joe Rogan, there could be we can talk about many other people. People are saying Jon Stewart should have done one. I think a lot of people argued. It was like, yeah, let's let Jon Stewart run one of the debates. A lot of people were for that too. Jon Stewart's one, Joe Rogan. Who else is who else would be good? Um, I don't know. A lot of people, maybe John Oliver. Um, I don't know. I'm sure we can name like dozens, literally dozens of people that would be better than some of these dry milk toast people they use to do these debates. Like make it edgy on purpose just to get people watching. Or if you have maybe two moderators, have like people from both ends that both sides kind of respect within their respective fan bases. That could work. It's, guys, I don't know. It's feeling late. I'm about to go pretty soon. Um, but yeah, definitely, I'm going to report on the debate either. So, but like I said, the decision is whether I'm going to do it live during the debate or just make a video about it after the fact or just do a live stream the next day and talk about it then. Ray Robler says Larry Elder ran for governor in California, and some people, and some purple haired girl dressed in a monkey suit throwing bananas. Really? I'm not surprised, but damn, that's messed up. And that's what that's an issue that I don't like either. Ray is that people always accuse people of conservatives of being racist. White liberals can be just as racist as people as white conservatives because white liberals will love black people until they realize those black people aren't also liberals, and then they will be just as racist towards them, if not more, than people on the right. And so I'm not at all surprised at that. And I've heard because Larry Elder was another person that people used to always talk about, just like Candace Owens and some other people. And again, when I actually listened to the man, you know, he wasn't as unreasonable as people make him out to be, which is usually the case. I think the more unreasonable people try to make someone sound from the opposing side should give you pause and start making you skeptical if that person is really deserves that vilification, because more times than none they're not as they're not as worthy of that vilification as those people on the other side think they are. And I'm talking from both political sides, guys. But yeah, I've heard Larry Elder speak. Dude is not that unreasonable, not at all. Do I agree with everything he says? No, but to throw bananas at him or do anything like that, that's crazy. And yeah, but I've heard people. I haven't seen that, but I've seen people insult him. And people hate black conservatives so much. It's like crazy. People think I'm conservative. I don't think so, but you know, I have some right leaning beliefs, of course. But yeah, Larry Elder's not that unreasonable. Here's someone who does have a lot of social conservative views, but is seen as a darling on the left. Someone like Denzel Washington, he has he comes from a sort of a fundamentalist Christian background, and so he tends to have very socially conservative views on many things. But I don't see him vilified for it, even though he doesn't hide his views at all when he's interviewed about things. Ray Roberts, Malcolm X said about white liberals. Exactly. I was gonna say that too, but I figure people are tired of me mentioning that. But yeah, just something Malcolm X literally talked about 60 years ago, saying, you know, beware of the racism of the white liberals. Yeah, he talked about that 60 years ago, and it's still true today as it is now. Kelly, we're not talking about both sidisms. That's not what we're talking about. But I get what you say. I get your point. You said both sidism isn't really justified, in my opinion. Yes, liberals can be racist, but on the far right, they want a white ethno state and would be happy to bring slavery back. We're not doing both sidism. Like I said, you literally had people like Malcolm X saying this 60 years ago. Beware of the white liberal racists. And his thoughts on that are just as germane to today as they were back in the early 60s. He was right. It's not a both sidism to mention how racist white liberals are. I've I've seen and heard them myself. Ray Robinson, Denzel is awesome. The Morgan Freeman is awesome as well. Yeah, I haven't heard Morgan Freeman's own personal views on many things, other than he talks about sort of being like a man's man, but I really haven't heard him on like social political issues. Like I heard Denzel some of his views. So I think his father was like I think his father was a preacher or someone in like the apostolic church or something like that. I can't remember, but because of that, he has, pretty um, social conservative views on a lot of issues. Kelly says, fair, I agree with Malcolm X on that, but he was saying liberals need to be more radical about reform. No, he was like, he basically said, I don't want to, no, basically he was just like, I just don't want to deal with them. But I guess towards the end of his career before he was assassinated, he did say he would work with any. He said the only he would work with anyone who's genuinely interested in them, the betterment of black people. But he really just was not interested in white liberals. He saw the canard that they played with people. The liberal white fox, he called them. Like, look at all the stuff they white liberals push on the black community that they wouldn't want in their own communities. So, I, show me a capitalist and I'll show you a bloodsucker. Hmm. Malcolm X would support Trump over Biden and Biden's '90s crime bill. Uh, I don't know if Malcolm X would support Trump. I mean, we're all speculating at this point, right? So I can't really say one way or the other. I don't know if he would support Trump. He might support he he might support, I don't know, maybe Cornell West, maybe. If anyone, that's if he supported anyone. He might just say, I'm sitting this out. I know, but I know for sure he would not support Biden, a man who literally fought against busing black students to white schools, who um, said his mentor was people like Robert Byrd, who worked with, and Robert Byrd being a KKK leader, or working with the white supremacist Strom Thurmond in the Congress. He definitely wouldn't back Biden. I know that. We don't even have to speculate on that one. Now, as far as him backing Trump or Cornell West or just sitting it out, that's going to be a matter of speculation. But I know for a fact he would not be for Biden. Kelly says he would hate Biden too, but he wouldn't support Trump. Like I said, he would definitely hate Biden, but I don't know whom he would support. He might, like I said, it would just be speculation of all of us right now, right? But I don't know if he would support Trump. He could, because all right, here's the thing though. Louis Farrakhan did say some nice things about Trump 4 years ago, so I don't know. Louis Farrakhan himself said some nice things about Trump, and this can be looked at on YouTube right now. If you do not believe me, you can check this out. Louis Farrakhan said some nice. I was like, wait, what? Louis Farrakhan? I was shocked. Then you had a former co-founder of the BLM, or Black Lives Matter, or Big Large Mansions, but he was a male. But I think the difference was he was one of the male co-founders of the movement. He's supporting Trump. So I don't know if I I can't say where Malcolm X, whom he would support. Like I said, that's if he would support anyone. Like I said, I think it's kind of speculation he would support anyone, because more than likely he might just be like politically apathetic about all the candidates. I think that's the most likely scenario for him. But he would definitely tell black people they should not be supporting Biden. That that is almost beyond doubt that Malcolm X would say that. Ray Roberts says everyone loved Trump until he ran for office. Yes and no. Well, people in New York City didn't, because a lot of when he was like a real estate mogul, a lot of people didn't like him then. But you do have a good point that he was, more of a beloved like public figure before he ran for office. You're right, and I think The Rock should take that warning well too, because he's well liked now till he runs for office. Then once he starts revealing his views, and let's be honest, The Rock has some conservative views, although he hides it a bit. He has some conservative views, and I think if The Rock does decide to run for office in the future, he's going to lose a lot of his fan base that he has. Because right now he's like one of the most successful public figures on Instagram. But let him run for office, he's going to lose half of that. But I won't say everyone loved Trump. I would just say, but he was a more beloved public figure before he ran for office. I still can't say that Malcolm X would vote for him, but that's besides the point, because we will all be speculating at that point. But yeah, Trump was more like when he was known well for the show The Apprentice. Pretty much a lot of people watched it from both sides of the spectrum, right? Um, then, there was a lot of people in the hip hop community liked him. Like he was mentioned in I don't know how many rap songs, and was in a few music videos in the past. So yeah, I have a friend that actually, once he retires from government, he wants to run for office, and told me he wanted me part of his campaign, um, which is very flattering. I, if I'm still in the U.S. at the time, I would definitely consider it, definitely. But I don't think he means this as a running mate, because I would not want to be anyone. I would not want to actually have to campaign for office. I would rather just be one of those little bureaucrats that's hired to be a part of the administration. But I mean, like I said, Kelly isn't completely wrong in what he's saying. It's just, I think both of you are making some good points, but I don't know, guys. Like I said, I think tomorrow's gonna be entertaining for sure. Actually, it would be actually funny to watch this in the gym, just to see everyone's reactions in the gym while watching it. But yeah, I think it's gonna be entertaining, and the fact that it's the first debate, because usually the first debate of the election is usually the most watched. So it actually would have been nice to have someone that's less politically tuned in, like Joe Rogan, or to host it. Maybe Jon Stewart. Then have next time like someone who's conservative run it. Like what's the guy again from Daily Wire? Ben Shapiro. So like yeah, so to make it fair, like have one debate moderated by like Jon Stewart, then have the second one run by like Ben Shapiro, or like have another one run by Joe Rogan, who people can suspect of being on both sides. Some people can think he's conservative, some people think he's a liberal. And they could do co-hosting. That could work too. And like I said, or they can do some of those when they do the town hall formats, that might be one of the times where they just use people like that who are more like podcasters, like to get the younger audience involved, like the millennials and the Gen Zers. Um, Maybe for like the town halls and stuff like that, get some of these famous podcasters to do stuff. Like, what if they had one run by Mr. Beast? I don't know his political leanings or anything else about him, but because he's the biggest personality on YouTube, a lot of people watch it to see Mr. Beast, moderate a debate. Again, Joe Rogan, maybe Matt Pat, if people know who Matt Pat was from game theory and film theory. Kelly says RFK is beyond irrelevant. I don't think he is. Again, RFK Jr. is a dark horse candidate, Kelly. Like I said, that's why they didn't want him. That's why they had him. They did not allow him to be a part of this debate. He's a potential spoiler for them, for one or the other candidate. Most likely he's a spoiler for Biden because he originally wanted to run as a Democrat before he went independent. So they know that he would grab some of the votes for Biden, but some of his views are conservative as well. So he's going to grab some from Trump. So he is a dark horse candidate, and he wouldn't be irrelevant. It would just be like when they had Ross Perot as the third party candidate. Ross Perot had a strong chance of winning the first time he ran. The second time, no, but the first time Ross Perot ran, he almost took it from Clinton and Bush Senior. But the second time Ross Perot ran, people didn't take him seriously because he dropped out the the first time. But the first time Ross Perot ran, he had a strong chance of winning it. I think RFK is in that same position that Ross Perot was. That's not true that zero Democrats care about RFK. If that was the case, the DNC wouldn't have fought so vociferously to keep him not a part of the DNC as a candidate. They know he's a potential spoiler for Biden. And matter of fact, when Biden loses, he's gonna be one of those people that. So here's who guys here when if and when Biden loses, and I should just say when, not if and when, but let's just be fair. Let's just say if and when Biden loses, these are the people they're going to blame. One, they're going to blame RFK for saying he was a spoiler. The same way they blamed what's his name for Gore losing, Nader, just like they tried to blame Ralph Nader for Al Gore losing in 2000. They're going to blame RFK Jr. for Biden losing, and then they're also going to blame black men, saying they didn't support, that they are traitors. They're just as bad as white conservative men, and all this other sort of stuff. Because they're already saying that right now on the left. If you guys don't know, they already tell people people on the political left are already saying that black men are just a part of the patriarchy now. Part of patriarchy. Yeah, so they're already saying on the left that they're saying black men are the new straight white men of the black community. That's literally what people are saying on the political left. So they're gonna blame RFK Jr. as a spoiler candidate, the same way they blame Ralph Nader for Gore in 2000, and they're gonna blame the lack of the black community showing support, particularly black men. They're going to say that we either didn't vote or that we voted for Trump. And that's largely true. A lot of black men are not. I would say half, well, I'm going to say about half of black men just aren't going to vote at all. And the other half who are going to vote, it's going to be like half and half. It's going to be split between Trump, Biden, and a third party candidate like Cornel West or RFK Jr. So, but those are the folks that are we already know they're going to blame. Then they're going to reach, and then they're going to even be even more far reaching and say that these people who they're going to still they're going to still somehow try to blame Bernie and say even though Bernie didn't run, his supporters didn't want to support Biden this time around. They're gonna try to find a way to blame every single person for Biden's failure, but Biden himself. They're gonna blame RFK Jr. They're gonna blame black men, and they're gonna blame Then they're gonna blame Bernie supporters, saying that they still refuse to vote for Biden. That's how far-reaching it's gonna be. Watch, and you think I'm joking? Watch MSNBC after the November elections and see who they blame. And I'm just saying, if you remember this string, okay, you remember this string, and whom I predicted the DNC are gonna blame for Biden losing after the November election. You remember this string? Drop me a cash app. That's all I'm saying. Just drop me a cash app. But now let me get back to the comments. David says, I got money on the debate tomorrow. Trump for the first mic cut and Biden for a senior moment. You know what? I'm really hoping that Biden doesn't have a senior moment, not for his sake, but I think it'll be more entertaining to see him hopped up on Monster energy drinks. Like I said, they need to give him a B12 shot, some Monster energy drinks. They need to get him that energy drink they were showing on The Boys last week with the deep when he was doing a commercial for that energy drink that was called, I forgot what it was called, like Undead or Dead something. He needs one of those energy drinks. And I was like, if all else fails, they need to get the woman from Police Academy 1 to be behind the podium. Like I said, if you remember that movie, you know what I'm talking about. Kelly says no third party candidates have ever got more than 10%. Do you remember Ross Perot? The very first time Ross Perot ran, he came close to capturing that election. I'm telling you, he dropped out for his own reasons. He didn't drop the first time he dropped out. He didn't drop out because he performed poorly. He was actually performing well. That is why when he ran for president the second time around, 4 years later, people didn't take him seriously because they were scared that he was just going to drop out again. But the first time that Ross Perot ran, he had a strong chance of beating both Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Bush Sr. Look that up. He caught a good chunk of the vote. Ross Perot, the first time around. Ross H. Perot. Kelly says, looks like both Biden and Trump don't want him around. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying, Kelly. Like, neither one of them wanted RFK Jr. in that debate. Because, like I said, he's a dark horse candidate. He's very much so a dark horse candidate. Ralph Nader was never a dark horse candidate. Ross Perot was. And I said, I think RFK Jr. has the potential for being that same type of dark horse candidate. So we'll see. But like I said, he's not going to be given a chance. At least Ross Perot was able to be on the debate stage with Clinton and Bush. And I think it would have been fair to do that for RFK Jr. as well. And then maybe do a town hall meeting with all the third party candidates, or just a separate debate with all the third party candidates, because it's like at least 5 of them. Crystal keeps saying black. I don't know what that means. We're all adults. You can use a full grammatical string of words here. Sean Hiles says, "Will Biden even know where he is during the debate? Who's going to hold him up?" Again, Sean, I hope they'll maybe give him a nice B12 shot, make him do some push-ups, and then give him a few Monster energy drinks. Maybe bring in a throat goat, get them topped off. Like I'm joking. Where's what's her name when you need her? What's Clinton's old girl? Damn, what's her? Monica Lewinsky. Bring her back in, and she can be the woman behind the podium, like in Police Academy 1. She was the original throat goat of the '90s. Well, her and Superhead Kareen Steffens. If you know, you know. uh, Philip says, "Hey, Just A Contrarian, love your OnlyFans channel." Um, I think you got me confused with your mother. Again, I don't come to your channel or your job kicking dicks out of your mouth, Philip Jackson. So I appreciate you staying off my channel when we're talking politics, while your little letter mob ass can't say anything appropriate out of your mouth because you're too fucking stupid. Again, tell your mother I'll be over again 5:30 as my usual. Tell her don't stop biting. Just use all gums. All gums this time. All gums and tongue like she usually does. No more teeth. I bought her those teeth last time so that she have straight white teeth. But tell her all gums this time, Philip. Anyway, so Kelly says, I think Trump will struggle to stay coherent. He's for sure going to ramble about some nonsense. He's like, remember when I fought corn pop? You know, when I was a, when I was worked at the pool, and there was this guy that came up named Corn Pop, and I told him Corn Pop, nah. They was like, Mr. President, we were talking about raising taxes. Yeah, that's why I was mentioning Corn Pop. Like Corn Pop wanted this, he wanted to charge me more for the soda pop. That's why I call it Corn Pop. And then I said, nah, we're not paying that much for the soda Corn Pop. So then he tried to punch me. I had to knock his black ass out. I mean, so I had to show him what was up. And yeah, Mr. President, again, I yield my time. I'm joking, guys. Kelly says Biden might be slow, but at least he can stay on topic. Yeah. Beam as his Philip J. Gummy. Kelly Keegan says Trump without a teleprompter is wild, talking about boats and sharks. Boats and hoes, boats and hoes. Boats and hoes, boats and hoes. Nah, you know what? Trump actually talked about it. He said, and this is how you know that he's not as stupid as people think he is. He said he often ad libs what he's saying instead of using a teleprompter because it comes off more genuine and more conversational. This is one of the biggest difference I see between liberal elites and conservative elites. Conservative elites like to downplay their intellectual acumen. Elites like to wear it on their sleeve. So this is similar to what Bush said, and Bush in the interview said that his Bush-isms, because he was quite aware that he often made these verbal tics and verbal gaffes when he talked to people on a public stage, and he said oftentimes he talked off the cuff and grammatically on purpose because it made him more relatable to the general public. And likewise, Trump said this a few years ago too. He said, I know, sometimes how it comes off, it seems like I'm like not very coherent, but he said that's because I'll choose sometimes not to use a teleprompter and just ad lib what I'm saying because he said it sounds more natural to the average person. So he knows that sometimes talking in a way that many of us do in our private conversations, which is usually not as coherent as we think it is, sounds more relatable to the general public. That is smart. Whereas many other liberals want to talk as eloquent as possible, and that's fine in certain places, but that doesn't endear you to the general person, to the average person all the time. Sometimes people want that so-called president who can they can have a beer with, right? Who comes off and who comes off as more erudite or, you know, a lofty, and who seems more relatable. Like, look, John Kerry and Bush were a perfect example. They both were Yale graduates. When they looked at their GPA, they both were about C average students. They both were in the same secret society, the Skull and Bones Society, but one came off as way more erudite and educated than the other one. They both had the same level of education, and since their GPA was about the same, that meant their IQ was about the same. So Sean Howes one says at least Trump talks about topics, Biden just stumbles on his own words and sounds like a third grader trying to pronounce a word they don't know. Kelly says his teleprompter failed a couple of weeks ago, and he went on a 10-minute ramble about a bunch of crazy stuff, specifically about electric boats and shark attacks. No, I thought you was talking about the guy when you said boats and sharks. I thought you was making a joke about the boats and hoes from Step Brothers. That's what I thought you was talking about. Jax, no, I'm not going to be in Avengers 5, but I heard your father's going to be in Subvengers 7, the search for more cock in his mouth. Anywho, Adam Black says all these politicians went to the same schools. They know what's best for themselves and where to keep us. Exactly. Like, people are misled by a lot of irrelevant stuff. Like, people think Trump is stupid, but he went to UPenn, which is one of the top Ivy League schools. Regardless of how he got in there, like some people say, well, he just got in there because of his father's connections or whatever, whatever. That's fine, but he still had to have the grades to graduate. So, regardless if he graduated a C level student or he graduated a top level student, he graduated from an Ivy League school, from their business school or econ, something like that. I don't forget if it was econ or business. I think I'm confusing with Obama's undergrad was in econ, and I think Trump's was in business school. Anyway, Biden is the one who didn't go to a Ivy League school. He's like one of the first presidents that didn't go to an Ivy League school since Ronald Reagan. Because everyone since then has. Bush Senior, Bush Senior, Bush Jr., Clinton, Obama, and Trump. So, but people would think that Biden is the more educated one because there's this bias that the people on the left are more educated, more studious, and so forth. And it's generally not true. Most of them go to the same schools. It's just that one plays down their academic acumen, the other, you know, highlights it. But yeah, they go to the same schools, Adam. You're absolutely right. Adam Black says he definitely ain't dumb. He's definitely not. Everyone thinks the guy on the opposing side is dumber than their guy. And it's just not true. Actually, as a matter of fact, Biden has been running for office since the 80s, right? The first time he ran in, I think, was 88, he lost because they brought up the fact that he lied about his record in law school and his grades. So, just saying. Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, Biden has a law degree. What I was saying is, back in '88, he actually left. He actually left the because he was presumed to be he was going to be one of the presumable frontrunners for the Democrats back in '88, and he pulled out of the race because they pulled up that there was some academic shenanigans on his part. Notice they don't talk about that anymore, but that was the reason he pulled out of the race back in '88. But he's been running for president since the '80s, guys. Some of you weren't born then. Some of you were just babies. '88, I was still a kid, a little kid. Shoot. I'm not Jay-Z. I haven't been hustling since '88. I'm joking. But yeah, he's definitely a career politician, Adam. Like I said, he's been in the Senate since the '70s. Definitely a career politician, which will make you think he should be better at this. But guys, I'm gonna go in a little bit. I just wanted to get a feel or a pulse of where everyone was with debates, and it was as I predicted. I think that a lot of you are going to be interested in watching it because a lot of us aren't. Let's be honest, a lot of us aren't watching it to see them talk about policy. A lot of us just want to see how crazy this shit gets. I think everyone on both sides is kind of genuinely interested in just seeing what's going to happen. I don't think the majority of us are watching it to see them debate like serious policy issues. There's going to be some talk on policy issues, of course, and it should be, but I think most of us are looking at this in the same spectacle sense as a wrestling match. And that's how CNN actually tries to like advertise their political debates. They try to make it sound like the newest WWE match. Oh, next candidate up is going to be the Hulk and Smash. But CNN definitely makes it sound like a pro wrestling spectacle more than a like serious debate on policy issues that affects 330 million people, not to mention people around the globe. Jake McMahon says, I feel like these days that wouldn't be a big scandal. We're used to them straight up lying all the time these days. Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Macy Varner says, do you like Morgan Wallen? You thought you could get me. Anyway, Kelly says, also the last three Republicans left this country in recession. That's debatable. That's debatable. Some people will say that Reagan got us out of a recession. There was a huge recession in Reagan's when Reagan was in office, but recession happens when a president is in office is not because of that president himself. A recession has to be caused by things that happen prior to that administration being in office. And arguably, people said Reagan got us out of one. He's respected as one of the greatest American presidents ever. So, I don't know. So it's debatable. B-Man says left if calling Trump a copycat for using one of Biden's policies about giving migrants green cards for graduating college. Thoughts, anyone? I'm confused. I'm confused on that one, B-Man. Um, I mean, I look like he was taking up his policy now that we need to put a obstruction against the Mexican border. It's like, and people like, oh, well, you criticize him for that. Now you're saying we need to do it. Like, yeah, no shit, we need to do that. He was literally right talking about we got rapists and we got. I can't say that word too much on YouTube. I can say it once. I'm not gonna try to say it twice. But having these people hurt women and delete people coming across the border. People thought he was being racist for saying it. He's right. He was right. We literally had some migrant come to my state of Maryland, and RPE, a woman, and KLL her, and There's been others. It, he was right. So now we're like, oh yeah, um, Biden says now he's going to adopt some of Trump's policies. Oh well, no shit. So Jake says plus recessions are a normal part of our economy. Absolutely. I guess it doesn't take a course in macroeconomics to know that, but it probably would help, right? There are the natural ebbs and flows of the economy, and it's usually not due to any individual president, especially while he's in office as it's happening. You really can't blame him for what's happening while he is currently in office. He can either he can either just make moves to lessen it or increase it, but he's usually not the cause of it himself. So, absolutely. David Sanchez is wilding out. Debate have been pay per view. Looking forward for your next talk. Thanks, David. Actually, at first when you said wilding out, I thought you were saying that they should host the debate, and I was like, shit, that's clever. Gotta get Gen Z involved. They do need to get young people involved because usually they are the most apathetic about voting with good reason because they actually tend to be the most politically informed, but they're cynical because they realize that their vote counts as much as the idiot next door who knows nothing but just knows that he likes this person because of the party that candidate is in, or vice versa that he doesn't like the person because of the candidate because of the party they're in. Whereas they have more nuanced information about both sides and realize it doesn't matter that they know more, that their vote is just as useless as the other person. That creates political apathy, which is why I think we should have some sort of newocracy. This was something advocated for by Plato like 4,000 years ago. His particular version of a newocracy I wasn't for, which he wanted so-called philosopher kings, which would be basically having the most erudite person hold the highest office. Usually, philosopher kings, or maybe what we might term like today, like a scientist or something, don't make the best policy makers, but they should definitely be part of the administration. I think instead a good version of a newocracy would be actually called an epistocracy, or the um, a government of the knowing, where people, it would still be sort of a democracy, but during elections, people who are politically informed and can demonstrate it by some sort of means, whether it's a test or whatever, however they want to do it, can have a weighted vote. So if you are a politically informed voter, you should have a you should have a weighted vote in the election compared to the moron who is not politically informed. I would be in favor of that. And if not that, at least ranked choice voting. That would be a good start. Ranked choice voting. Being Man saying it was one of Biden's policies he proposed when in Congress. Trump is picking that up. Okay, gotcha. That was, guys, when Being Man said Biden's policy about giving migrants green cards for graduating college. Hmm. At this point, I would just like to see migrants not taking, not getting a lot of free money for nothing, not getting resources that should be going to people within the black community, not being able to squat in people's houses, not being able to get away with crimes and not be deported. I would settle for that before having them graduate college. That would be a good start. And didn't Obama have a program? What was it called? I forgot what it was called, but it was to help um, undocumented immigrants who were like students, stuff like that. He had some program like that, but people forget that Obama was called the deporter in chief at one point. So Jake McMahon says, I like the idea of only letting informed people vote in theory, but I also feel like the political party in power could rig the test. No, so that's what I was saying, Jake. So it's not. So the way epistocracy will work is everyone still gets a vote, right? Everyone still gets their vote. However, the people who are politically informed get a weighted vote. You get what I'm saying? So like, say everyone's vote is a one, but the person who's politically informed through whatever means that's going to be done, and of course it does matter how they measure how the people are politically informed, of course. But let's just abstract away from how they actually measure how the person is politically informed. They would get a higher they would get a higher than one. Everyone else would just get a vote of one. The person who demonstrates he's politically informed throughout however means we're going to abstract away from that, they get like a three or something like that. Or maybe it could be rated based on how, or maybe there might even be degrees of weighted vote based on how informed they are. So that could be, so it could be two, three, four, something like that. However it would be meted out would determine the success of it, but it would decrease a lot of political apathy. Like there's country like when I'm in the Philippines, these people high voter turnout, and they do it the old-fashioned way. Like you'll have the little thing on their finger from when they voted. Much higher voter turnout in the elections, despite political corruption being way more rampant there. Or I shouldn't say more rampant. I should say more political corruption there is just more blatant than it is here. I can't say that it's more. I can't say they have more corruption over there than they do here. It's just more blatant, right? Yet they still have a much higher voter turnout than we do because they all feel more invested in that in their system than we do. Whereas here we have a plutocracy, right? And it just sometimes feels completely futile. Like South Park said, you're voting between a a a, a douche, like a douchebag and a turd sandwich. CMAB says, "Can you make me mod? I'm subbed, and I want to support your channel." So I'm not monetized right now, so I'm not really making anyone moderators. Plus, I don't have enough numbers in these vertical live chats to support having like independent moderators yet. When I do have people, the only time I really have moderation, my wife will moderate sometimes. But when I start doing super chats and it's like I start seeing like triple and like triple and quadruple numbers in the viewing numbers, then I might need moderation then. But for these little vertical live chats, it's not enough people to really um, support having like moderators just yet. Like I said, once I start doing super chats, once I'm monetized, and we're talking about like people in the hundreds, thousands, then that would be a conversation to have. Beanie Man says DACA. Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Yeah, the DACA, the Dreamers. Yeah, that was Obama's thing. Jake says that makes sense. Is there a country that uses the voting system you mentioned? No, this was an argument put forth by a philosopher, of course, and political philosophy, and like I said, he was going all the way back to the very beginnings of our Western civilization when Pluto literally talked about it in his book, The Republic. He even back as 4,000 years ago, Plato was cynical about democracies because he thought that too often democracies fail and turn into totalitarianism, or they just turn into these what we sort of have now, like an oligarchy. But he just thought that pure democracies wouldn't work, which is something that our founding fathers did keep in mind, which is why we don't have a pure democracy. We have a representative democracy, and we have a we technically our system of government is called a federal republic, um, because there was cynicism on the founding fathers' part reaching all the way back to the stuff that the ancient Athenians were thinking about when it came to having a government run by the people instead of run by uh, kings and stuff like that. They knew some of the errors in that, which is also one of the reasons why they wanted the electoral vote. The electoral vote was sort of like a compromise between who those who wanted like a direct vote and those who didn't want a vote by the people at all. Only they wanted those they wanted us to elect people in power to then elect the leader. Like we see in some other countries, right? So sort of the electoral vote was sort of like a compromise between those two positions. And that's why I went now, even when people are cynical of the electoral vote, I'm still kind of for it. And when you look at the history of the electoral vote, it's only been like two, maybe three times it has gone against the popular vote. For most part, it's always gone with the popular vote, but it is a hedge on abuses of the popular vote just being done through political whim. So that's why I'm still kind of for the electoral vote, even though I know that it has some nasty origins with slavery and all that sort of stuff. But Sammy says, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I'm not trying to, yeah, I wasn't trying to be mean or nothing. I'm just saying I don't really have enough viewers to met out having a independent moderators yet. Like I said, maybe when I start having super chats, that might be a conversation to be had about that. But I do appreciate your support a lot. Outwardly, Crass says ranked voting would be a step in the right direction. I believe so too. Also, might remind people that local government is supposed to be more critical to everyday life, and that's another good point too. It's way more important that you be voting on your local level and your state level than caring about what's happening on the federal level. Most people come out to vote the most for the presidential election, which is the most inconsequential vote you can ever have. Unless and only unless you are an electoral college voter, your popular vote means very little. And I'm not trying to deter anyone from voting at all, but you're better off concentrating on those local elections where your vote actually matters. Not to mention that at the local level, you can actually have a say in things like how many people being being politically active. Being politically active is not just voting every presidential election. That's like the least you can do to be politically active. If you really want to be politically active, you can go to those local town hall meetings, those local city council meetings, those local county council meetings. You can run if you really feel inclined to do so. You can run for a small office, like delegate or whatever. That's being politically active. But simply, you know, watching the news every day and then just doing your presidential election vote doesn't matter much in the big scheme of things. But again, I'm not trying to deter anyone from voting. I'm just saying on a local level is so much more important. Plus, a lot of those local leaders that you elect end up being electoral college voters, like those state electors or whatever. So if you really care, you would care about the local level too, because because it, you know, sometimes it's bottom up. Jake McMahon says, "You seem like a smart man. I'm not familiar with you. Do you read or study a lot of philosophy?" Yeah, I'm a bit of a philosophy nerd. If you look at some of my older stuff, I've done like live streams just talking about philosophy, stuff like that. So that's part of my shtick. Dawson says, "Womp womp, too big is wimpity womp." If that makes sense to you. First, I thought you was actually rapping the Rapper's Delight at first, but I don't think you're even old enough to remember the Rapper's Delight. Outwardly crass, not looking for a debate. I'm relatively a novice in economics. Opinion on Austrian economics? None. I'm not. I'm not an econ person. Um, I didn't even take economics. I took business. Uh, I took a business 101 class, and I read a textbook on microeconomics. That's the extent of my econ knowledge. So I wouldn't know. I don't know if Austrian economic. When you're saying Austrian economics, I don't know if that's a branch of economics you're talking about, or you're talking about just what's going on in Austria itself. Like if you're talking about like a branch of economics, like Austrian economics, as opposed to like I don't know Keynesian economics or something like that, I have no idea. Oh, a branch. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't have no idea. Like I said, the most formal economics I know is what I read about, my micro econ textbook. I read just for fun. And I'm a bit of a nerd. I just read textbooks for fun sometimes. Beingman says, "What book do you recommend for someone getting into philosophy?" Okay, so I've recommended this before, guys. So one thing I think you should know about philosophy, again, at least Western philosophy, is be prepared that you're going to have to understand a lot of rudimentary formal logic in philosophy. So if you're not someone who likes to like think straight on dry matters like that, philosophy may not be for you. Just forewarning. But if you just want to get in, like, there's a couple of ways. Like one, if you can, you could just take a community college course on intro to philosophy. That's one thing you can do. But if you can't do that, then there's also some of those free online courses like Coursera. A lot of a lot of universities offer those free online courses. I forgot what you call those. But Coursera is one version of that, right? Um, or if you don't want to do like the online work, like the free courses online or community college intro course, you could just get a textbook. Just get a textbook on intro philosophy and get a good book on intro to symbolic logic. Okay, I did it in one of my previous streams. I actually shown like three books I would recommend. But yeah, that's one. One specifically you can get is called How to Think Straight by Anthony Flew. I recommend him because I'm actually contemplating writing a book that's going to mirror his book. And I'm just going to call it How to Think Straight at Black Choice. But there's a lot of it's I'm gonna credit Anthony Flew with. So that's a good book. It teaches you critical thinking skills, which is more informal logic. But to really do philosophy, you're gonna need to know both informal logic or critical thinking skills, and you should get an intro to formal logic. There's one simply called symbolic logic, and it usually doesn't matter which edition you buy because logic doesn't really change that much. Not at not at the simple baby logic level, the simple binary first order logic, that doesn't change. So it doesn't really matter whom you get. Just get one that's entertaining enough. But those are the three books I would recommend for someone who's interested in starting out in philosophy. Any sort of intro to philosophy book that gives you like an overall um, look at the field, because some people don't understand it is actually a specific field of study. So that's one is going to get, because the usually the intro is going to give you some of like the some of the more famous arguments that come from different fields of philosophy, and it's going to give you a lot of the history of philosophy and many of the people that's been well respected in the field. Then you're going to want a formal logic intro textbook, and then you're going to want an informal logic textbook. And like I said, one is called a good one is How to Think Straight by Anthony Flew. Then the other one is a good one. Unfortunately, both these people died recently. Anthony Flew and the other guy I'm going to recommend, Bob Carroll. His book is called How to Become a Critical Thinker, and part of it he does have online. But to get the whole the whole thing, you need to buy the textbook. But he also has another website online. This is a complete dictionary called Skeptics Dictionary. All of his glossary entries are on his website, even though he passed away. The people who run his estate have kept that website open, or you can buy the book to that too, which is tied in with critical thinking skills and gives you like an overall look at some general issues in philosophy from a perspective of debunking pseudoscientific and dangerous beliefs, stuff like that. So those are what I recommend. Intro philosophy book, intro formal logic, symbolic logic that is, and intro critical thinking skills book, particularly How to Think Straight by Anthony Flew. Outwardly Crassus, no worries. Thanks. Sorry, like at least I will tell you if I don't know something. I won't be like other YouTubers and try to pretend I know something that I don't know. Um, if you caught that, you probably know a little bit about Socrates too. Outwardly Crassus opinion of Nietzsche. Personally, not a fan. Probably could not tell from the PFP though. So here's my thoughts on Nietzsche, and I'm about to go because this is getting away from the original topic of today, which was the debates coming up tomorrow. But here's my thoughts on Nietzsche. So originally, I didn't like Nietzsche, and the only reason I didn't like Nietzsche is just because most of the people who talked about Nietzsche didn't understand Nietzsche. And when I first actually like formally reading about him in my philosophy of literature class, he, he's not as bad as people make him out to be. Like people somehow sometimes make him out to be like anti-intellectual or just crazy. And he was neither. Well, he did later become crazy, but that's because he was suffering from syphilis. But before then, he was not a madman. He was quite sane and quite and a clever philosopher. Um, Unfortunately, his writings after he either when he be, when he became mentally ill or after he died were taken by his sister and then rewritten to support fascism, which he did not support at all. So sometimes when we see an abuse of Nietzsche's writings, these are not his original writings. These are the ways that his sister reinterpreted his work to support fascism because she was a fascist, not Nietzsche himself, not Friedrich Nietzsche. His own writings, uh, he he was more in the lines of teaching people how to be more skeptical about things in society. The only thing I would say is he did come off a bit anti-science sometimes because he came about during the rise of the European Enlightenment and the Age of Reason, and he sort of rebelled against that. So that part, I disagree with him. But his views on, I guess, excuse me, existentialism and his own sort of nihilism, which wasn't nihilism as we think about it, but more of a constructive nihilism. It was kind of on point. Like whether he's talking about the Ubermensch or the slave ethics versus master ethics, and all these other things he mentioned, he was basically saying that it's a given, like in most existentialism and nihilism, that life has no purpose, beyond maybe our personal choices. But he was saying given that we know that, we should be very cynical of people, and in his day and age, it's still the same as in our day and age. People like certain political leaders, religious leaders, um, I would say now more corporate interests and people in marketing and advertising, all trying to convince us of certain things that will give more meanings to our lives when we know that there is no underlying meaning to our lives. So why should we take these people as knowing something more than we do? They don't. So he sort of was giving us a way of having a little bit of more healthy cynicism in our lives. So that's what I think about him, um, in a nutshell, I guess. B-Man says, cool, thanks, no problem. Jake McMahon says, let me know if I'm talking too much in the chat. I tend to comment a lot in lives, in life. No, you're good. You're good. Gridiron is giving us some religious inspiration. Outwardly Crest is interesting. Thanks for that info and reinterpretation of his work after his death. Yeah, because his work, like I said, was reinterpreted by his sister who supported fascism. So his work has been used to support the Nazi, the Third Reich, and then it was used again for some other fascists as well. And he himself was never a fascist and never supported it. So often when people put him in that camp, it's unfair because that was not his own views at all. Jake McMahon says with modern society quite well, in my opinion. So yeah, guys, it's kind of late. What was I gonna say? But yeah, so like I said, it looked like I had my finger on the pulse here that yeah, a lot of people are gonna be tuning into the debate. So in some way, I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. Either I'm going to live stream during the debate, unless I'm scared this is going to give me a copyright strike, then I'm not going to do that. If so, then I'll either do a video afterwards, giving my thoughts on it, or I'll just do a live stream the following Friday, and we can talk about it. But I'm gonna do one of those three things to react to it. All right. Um, yeah, this coffee is wearing off, but that was from earlier. Anyone else got any questions about the debates tomorrow? I mean, the debate tomorrow, not debates, plural, but the debate tomorrow. Or anything germane to that? If not, I'm going to end this pretty soon. Again, if you guys notice, that's my grandfather's plaque on the wall. He fought in the Korean War. And I know I keep harping on that, but I'm just proud of that because to me, he's a war hero. He fought in the infantry in the Korean War. And just the thought of that scares the dickens out of me. No diddy. But yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him because he passed away when I was an infant. So, and he was a first responder too. So, after fighting in the Korean War, he ended up being a firefighter, a first responder here in Baltimore, and ended up raising first responders. My uncle and then my cousin, who's about to retire from the Maryland Capitol Police next year, 25 years in. So, and of course, I served as well, but I didn't serve. Even though I am a wartime veteran, I didn't serve. I didn't serve in combat, so I don't want to misrepresent myself. I was just in signal corps in the I was just in this signal corps, so you know. I don't know if the comments aren't coming through or just no one has had any. But I'm gonna give it a few minutes, and if I don't get any comments, then I'm gonna just close this out. But this was well. Got a few trolls as predictable, but I didn't mind roasting them. So, mm-mm-mm. Oh, and by the way, does anyone have any other follow-up philosophy questions? I don't usually mind taking a random philosophy question here and there, even if it's not on the topic. Mind you, I'm not a when he was asking about Friedrich Nietzsche, I'm not a fan of Nietzsche, so I don't know as much about him. But from what I do know about the man, he wasn't a nutty or anything like that. So Devin said, "What was the topic?" The topic was where people plan on turning into the presidential debate tomorrow between Biden and Trump, and if so, whether they will want me to comment on it live or maybe like give my afterthoughts once it's ended, or just do like a live stream the day after. Because like I said, I'm not sure if I can do it during the live stream, just because excuse me, the live stream during the debate, just because one, I might miss a lot of the information coming from the debate to tune into the to stay attuned with everyone in the live stream, or I might get a copyright claim against me for playing that content, which is owned by CNN, on here, because all the other venues which are going to simulcast the broadcast from CNN are getting permission from CNN to do so. So I don't have that sort of leeway. Devin Malloy says, for sure, what are your political leanings? So formerly, I was quite the progressive. And I think even if I took a poll today, I would still probably poll as somewhat progressive, because at that time I was like over 90% progressive. However, the things that I wasn't progressive on would make to a progressive nowadays make me not a progressive, which is so weird because they demand they demand political parity on every issue to be one of them, which is one of the reasons I reject them. The other reason is that I don't like the pushing of political identity and victimhood as part of their ideology. So I just refer to myself now as a classical liberal. And when I say classical liberal, I don't mean liberal in the sense of American liberalism. I'm talking about classical liberalism in the European sense. Those people of the European Enlightenment, like John Locke, John Stuart Mill, David Hume, um, Adam. What's the guy named Adam? The guy who wrote the Wealth of Nations. That guy, and others like that. Like to, nowadays in American politics, those who consider themselves classical liberals are actually on the right, but back in the '60s, we would have been considered on the left. So those are my political leanings. Like I said, I still would probably have a lot of those same views as progressives did, but because I don't share a lot of their uh, victimhood mentality, I'm pushed right. So that's where I am, I guess. Jake McMahon says, "Did you get my question about Kaczynski, or is it too spicy for YouTube?" Yeah, I didn't even get it. So the algorithm probably just didn't post it. Like, um, guys, if I don't see comments, YouTube is censoring them before they can even be posted. So yeah, I definitely didn't see that because I was for like I said, I was about to end the stream because I didn't see any comments coming in. David Malloy says, "Yeah, it kind of sucks that they aren't allowing streamers to show it too. I'd enjoy it." And after debate discussion, that's true. The right has gone left, and the left has gone super left. Uh, yeah, maybe. But yeah, um, as far as the streaming thing, like I say, everything is corporate owned. So, and YouTube has moved away. So if you look at the beginnings of YouTube to now, it felt more like a local access or public access channel when it first started. to now. Um, Whereas now it's very much corporate, and they look to have the same sorts of advertisers as you will see on network television. We even see same sort of commercials on YouTube that we see on network television now. So everything has to be ad friendly. But also, as far as the streaming, is just that, you know, all the other venues that are going to show the debate outside of CNN itself has permission from CNN to simulcast that broadcast on their platforms. So I think there are going to be streamers who do some stuff like that, but they might catch a lot of copyright claims to do so, or copyright strikes. I should say, a copyright claim isn't actually um, a copyright claim isn't as bad as a copyright strike. A copyright strike means enough of those can get you demonetized and even deplatformed. A copyright claim is just saying you're using something that's copyrighted, but it is allowed to be shared. So that's the difference. But yeah, I don't want any copyright strikes nor claims as I'm about to be monetized. Devin says there's no shame in calling yourself right leaning, my man. No, I'm not. I'm not at all afraid of that. I'm just saying I'm just trying to be pedantic in my views. Like I said, I consider myself a classical liberal, and I really don't care whether that falls on the left or the right. But I was saying that classical liberals did used to be on the left, but because the left has become so radicalized that we've been pushed, that classical liberals have been pushed to the right. And I'm not the only one who said it. There's other folks who've shared those feelings as well. So, but yeah, if I'm on the right, so be it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm still gonna be a classical liberal either way, because to me, the values of classical liberalism were some of the founding principles that led to the scientific revolution and to the spread of democracy, because that's one of the virtues of classical liberalism. You know, democracy, reason, um, political freedom, economic freedom, you know, personal freedom, kind of catching a hint of that freedom thing, right? um, Stuff like that. So those have been the pillars on which classical liberalism was built. Unfortunately, and oh, not to mention also, the rights of, you know, the freedom of free speech and thought. Nowadays, the people like progressives only believe in free speech as so much as it doesn't hurt certain protected groups. So if you're part of the letter mob, simply disagreeing with something that they say is is tantamount to violence. And as both someone who comes from a philosophy background and a linguistics background, I think that's absolutely absurd to say that just by virtue of disagreeing with someone means is tantamount to physical violence. I'm like, how sway, how? So, uh, McMahon says, "Have you read Kaczynski's manifesto?" I haven't. Obviously, it goes without saying I disagree with the actions he took. Oh, you talking about Ted Kaczynski? Is that? Yeah, I don't know anything about that man. Devin Malloy says, "True, I hear that a lot from classical liberals, not in a bad way." Yeah, yeah, exactly. I've heard the same gripes from them. So I was like, oh, okay, I don't feel alone in this. And like I said, there's other people who also are progressives or were progressives who don't who are. There's people like me as well who used to be progressives who saying they don't consider themselves progressive anymore. Even on the Young Turks, one of the most far left leaning news platforms, the co-host, what's her name? I forgot. She always looks like she's like sniffed some coke before she goes on air. Um, but the co-host of the Young Turks, she said numerous times that when she's disagreed with stuff, she was like, "Hey, if I'm no longer progressive," she's like, "So be it." But she's like, "I'm not going to just buy some of this BS yet some of y'all are talking just to say that I'm a card carrying progressive. So when you have people even on the far left saying, I don't know if I'm still a progressive, then it's definitely something wrong in that community. Devin Moss is he's a laughing my ass off. I forgot her name too, but she does look like that. She does. I know I'm not the only one who thinks she looked like she just sniffed some coke before she does a before she goes on air. Like she's all revved up and stuff. Yeah. Jake says, "Yep, his manifesto is one of the most beautifully written works of philosophy, in my opinion. I think he addresses the problems with modernity pretty well, but not fully the solutions." Um, I don't know. Wasn't this guy a psychopath? I mean, I don't want to just. I don't want to. I don't want to make the outright fallacy of. I don't. Well, I don't want to commit the genetic fallacy by just dismissing the man's claims as those rantings of a madman, because literally that's what happened to Friedrich Nietzsche. However, the difference was he was never, when he had wrote those things, he was actually sane. But in a but if we're talking about a psychopath, that's different, because psychopaths are pretty much demented from early on. But I can trust me. Ted Kaczynski has never came up in a any talk I've ever heard regarding philosophy. And I mean, even in a philosophy symposium where it could be like random stuff talked about, I've never heard anyone bring up Ted Kaczynski in the realm of philosophical argumentation. I'll just say that. Maybe you're giving him a more generous interpretation. uh, Devin says, "What time do you think you do a debate review? I'll subscribe and join in tomorrow." Well, I appreciate if you do subscribe. Like I said, I haven't. I'm going to talk it over with some people tomorrow about the possibility of either live streaming during the debate, or if I don't do it during the debate, because I think it starts after 9, right? And usually those debates go for about 3 hours. So uh, I'm not going to do a I'm not going to do a stream after the debate that night. It will be Friday if I do it. If I can't do it during the debate itself, and even if I do like a full length video after the debate where it's not a live stream but just me recording my thoughts on it, it would still probably be not available till that Friday. So basically, it's either going to be like a live stream during the debate or content that I make that you'll see Friday. So I don't know yet, but generally I'm on around the same times, usually between the late afternoon and early evening. And so yeah, I gotta talk it over with some people about how when I'm gonna stream. Because like I said, if I think I can get away with live streaming during the debate, I wouldn't mind doing it, because that might be pretty cool to do. Because that'll be my first time doing that. Thanks, Devin. Let me see what the time is, guys. Give me 1 second here. Oh yeah, it's past 12, so about for me to get some shut eye. Um, it's 11:30 in Texas. Well, yeah, it's like 12:21 here in Maryland. So I gotta go. But yeah, I will definitely do something about the debate tomorrow. This was sort of like the preamble to that. And guys, if you have any other questions or whatever, you can leave it in the comment section after this is uploaded. Even if it's about philosophy or whatever, I'm never tired of talking about either philosophy or psychology. I can talk about those all day long, literally, or like other nerdy stuff. But if you have those thoughts, leave it in the comment section. But I'm about to head out of here. But yeah, I will be doing something tomorrow or Friday regarding the debates because we all know it's going to be entertaining, or at least I hope so. If it's boring, I'm going to be really disappointed that it's boring. Like, I- get both those men on something. I don't care what it is to get them amped up. Get Biden some monster drinks. Let Trump have, his Big Mac and fries or whatever he likes. Shit, give me a Big Mac and fries. But yeah, um, hopefully that goes down well. Shoot, I'm actually hungry, but it's like too late to eat. Uh, Devin says it'll be good. I hope so. Jake says I'll check in tomorrow. New subscriber here. Appreciate it, Jake. Devin said he's got some of Hunter's coke somewhere. No, I mean he literally. You forgot they literally had it in the White House, and they was like, I don't know where this cocaine came from. Really? We we don't. So the I don't know. The president has a son that has a cocaine addiction. Not only cocaine, he smokes crack. Like a president's son smokes crack. He doesn't even do like powder cocaine. He smokes crack. Could you imagine? All right, I know I'm going off on a tangent. Could you imagine if Obama had had a black son while he was in office smoking crack? Yo, that is crazy. But yeah, we remember this, and again, this isn't coming from right leaning news. This was coming from left leaning news too. Like this was on CNN, MSNBC, stuff like that. Young Turks. They found powdered cocaine in the White House, and people were like, we don't know where this came from. All right. So it's crazy. But let me get ready to go, guys, because the later it gets, you get more of these little incels in here, like Kyle Nash and NC Matt. Like, some of these incels, I don't know, they need to either. This is why maybe prostitution needs to be legal in this country. These losers need some pussy. Otherwise, they wouldn't waste their time coming up on people's live streams saying dumb shit, just showing their lack of IQ. But to me, that was just hilarious. I'm sorry, that was just hilarious. That I've never heard of them saying, "We found cocaine in the White House and we don't know where it came from." Like this sounds like something that would be on a. This sounds like something that would come off of a comedy show. Like this would be maybe in The Onion, if people ever read The Onion online, or something from like a Mad TV skit. If people remember Mad TV or Saturday, Mad TV was like better than Saturday Night Live all day, but like Mad TV, something. But did this really happen? It was like, man. And then we know that the president sounds like crackhead. It's like, okay, how hard is this to figure out, right? So I'm sorry. Yeah, of course the American people knew where it came from, or at least half of us knew where it came from. The other half wanted to deny it. Sort of like the mother whose whose son is a piece of shit, but she's the only one who can't see it, and everyone else can. So that sort of thing. But anyway, I'm gonna go, Devin. Appreciate the chat, man. Hope you will be here tomorrow. Like even if I don't do a live stream during the chat, I mean during the debate, I am still going to do a live stream tomorrow. It's just that um, if if I know I can't do it during the debate, I'll just do it before then, and then I'll do one the next day specifically about the debate itself. But all right, my man. Thank you. Everybody else, thanks as well. I'm gonna head out, guys. Appreciate it.